the biggest reason I'm so willing to share my youth is not so much because I think it's a pity party situation for me, but mostly because I feel like it's actually very common to grow up in a broken home where maybe there's a little bit of violence going on. There's some things that are not ideal, are not the picture perfect movie version of a family. There was certainly a broken home going on. There was infidelity going on. There was violence going on, either with us directly or between the father and stepfather. There was violence with the mom. There were actually house fires. Okay, now that I'm listening off, it kind of was it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? But honestly, I don't personally think about it a whole lot. I don't feel like it affected me. I feel like I chose to let it affect me in the way I needed to, for me to do what I needed to do. So it gave me a view on the world that I feel like is, if not healthy, realistic in my ability to able to navigate through it. Mm-hmm. And so anytime I ever share these things with anyone, it's not in hopes that somebody feels bad for me. That's probably the last thing I would want. In fact, I'd be embarrassed if that were to happen, or if I were to come off that way. What I do think is really important is that if a young man or a young lady is going through something in their life and it's not ideal, maybe like the situation that I just named, that they know that they can get a lot of good out of it and benefit from it in a positive way.
Mm. Did you always feel that way about it, or is that something you had to learn?
I can't say that I ever felt anger. I think that it was more of a heartbreak, if that makes sense. Like, why is this happening? Why do I feel like I'm in the middle of making certain decisions? Or why do I not want to go home? Or you see what I'm saying? Or why is this happening? Or why are they screaming? Why are they screaming at me? You know, why are they hitting each other? Why is this crazy lady hitting me? You know, like those types of things. And then I kind of went through like this progression of like seeing things, like there would be things happen, like particularly to as soon as I started to get into late junior high and I could start spending the night at other people's house. It was my little sister that I think took the brunt of it. She's 18 months younger than me. And so like she would come to school and she might have like a little speck on her eye or something like that. And they'd be like, hey, what happened? And we're like, yo, you know, we got to go home to this lady, you know. And it was not very male driven. It was mostly, you know, the mother. I'll tell you, I'll never forget the day I knew that she would never touch me again. I was in high school as a sophomore. And you know how like when you get to your sophomore year and you're like playing football, did you play sports in school?
I played a lot of sports. Rugby was my main sport because I was in boarding school in the UK at that time. So rugby is the
Nice.
closest thing to American football.
Nice. But you also hold the deadlifting record over there,
I
right?
do, yeah, for sure.
Yes, which I'm a huge fan of. But I was lifting weights and, you know, I was 6'2", 6'3" at the time, probably 210 pounds. And I'd said something to her. I was brushing my teeth and she said something crazy to me and I said something back. And she went and she drew her fist up at me and her eyes would always get big. And she was a strong woman. A lot of my genetics came from her. And she read her fist back at me and I looked down at her and I asked her, I said, what the insert 4-letter word are you really going to do? And I'll never forget watching her like almost shrivel back. You know what I'm saying? And I knew like, bro, she ain't hitting me no more. But it didn't really cover my siblings, right? I was the oldest.
Okay.
But man, I think that those things are unfortunately sometimes more common than maybe people would want to believe. And maybe that was my experience and that it's not as common as I think. I don't know. I just I don't know anything else, you know, than that situation coming up. So for me, I feel like all you can really do is flip it to a positive. That's all you can really do with it. You know, okay, well, what in there can I take with me? Or what do I have with me today? What kind of grit do I have with me today because of that scenario? Or what did I see? Well, I saw one thing, but I was told another. Where very clearly as an adult looking back, I can see the truth in the actions. You know, so for me, I always say when I do mention childhood is that it was a gift in many, many ways, you know, so. Yeah.
Can I ask what that relationship is like now? Is that something that's been
Yeah, man. I'm an open
recovered?
book.
Yeah.
No, it's not actually.
Okay.
None of the five of us that grew up in that house speak to her
Mm.
in any regard. And her siblings don't either, and my father certainly doesn't, and my stepfather doesn't, to my knowledge. She can't help it, man. I think she's sick, bro.
Yeah.
I have no hate towards anybody in that situation, including the stepdad, including her, anyone. It's just, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
So.